Good morning, church. George Morrison was a late 19th century pastor, and he was pastoring the distinguished Wellington Church in Glasgow, Scotland. And he was a very popular preacher, very similar to Charles Spurgeon, and his preaching drew large crowds. He was a master of using imagination in preaching, and yet his messages were solidly biblical. Today we'll look at a few points from one of his message titled The Boat's Breadth. The Boat's Breadth. And we are familiar with this incident in John chapter 21 when Peter decides to go fishing at night and six other disciples join him. And the whole night they are on the boat and they are not able to catch even one fish. And when the day is breaking, just at the dawn time, when it's not fully bright, Jesus stood on the shore and the resurrected Jesus, and he is asking the disciples, "Children, do you have any fish?" And they answer, "No." They haven't yet recognized that Jesus is standing there. And Peter must have been a great fisherman. He was a leader, and he must have been really good in his occupation. He must have known all the tricks. He would have known what is the right time to put the nets and what is the right method. So when Jesus is saying that cast the nets on the right side, it doesn't necessarily imply that they had cast the net only on the left side the whole night. They might have tried everything. What it means is that Jesus is asking them to change the method in his time. So our experience, our knowledge, our striving will not work. We may have a great character, we may have patience like the disciples. They were so patient throughout the night, and we may be resilient and hardworking. But Jesus can tell us to change our method. And we should never be afraid to change our method, even if it's not making sense to us, because Christ can manage things better than what we can. Peter was an experienced fisherman, but Christ knew more about fishing than what Peter did. And it was a night when nothing was working. All night they had toiled, they were very hungry, hopeless, but in the morning they had the answer, and Jesus was the answer. Jesus was very near to the disciples. When the day was breaking, he was at the shore. As believers, we can never pray that Jesus, please come closer to me. I'm so lonely and I'm helpless, because Jesus is right next to us. He's knocking at our door patiently. He's so close to us. It is we who can't hear him, maybe because we are too busy or we are doing something which we think is more important. So, the best things Jesus has to offer are often so near. So many people miss it. The difference between night and the dawn is lesser than what we think. When their hearts were set on something which was so important to them, it was not very far away. It was just uh, as far as the breadth of the boat. So what must be the breadth of the boat? 10 feet, 20 feet, and they were just missing all that they wanted. It was very close, just the breadth of the boat. And that is the tragedy of life. When we yearn for peace, joy, power, it is very near, and yet we miss it by a very short distance. And that is the tragedy of life, because if it was far away, when things what we need are very far away, unreachable, and we're not getting it, most of us are not getting it, it was still okay. But these things are just little bit away, the boat's breadth, and we long for it, and it's so near to us, and we may miss it, and that can be a tragedy. So uh, we have to change the method when Jesus is asking us to do that. The worldly, the fleshly methods will not work. And the disciples were going to be fishers of men. We read that in Acts what they did when Holy Spirit came. And in Acts 1 verse 8, Jesus said the Holy Spirit will come. So he was telling them, when the Holy Spirit comes, you go to all parts of the world. So first receive and then give was this method. And this method was not about using your own power. The method was to receive first in the Holy Spirit. The lesson on the boat was going to stay with them. The lesson of changing the method when none of our method is working was going to stay with them. Jesus, just a few days back, had asked them to pray in the Garden of Gethsemane. And what did they do? They were sleeping. But we read in Acts 2, the moment Jesus was raised in heaven, we see that they go back to the upper room and they're praying fervently in the upper room. Their methods have changed now. They were not so thankful earlier, now they are very thankful. So, do we trust in the methods of Jesus when all our methods have failed? Can we go to Him for every venture? Can we tell everything about it to Him, ask for His advice? Because changing the method, the way God leads, can be the best thing that we can do. How about casting our nets on the right side? Have a good day.